And then we are going to go live. Hi everyone, this is Gathering of Light with Eva, Johnny, and Cody. And welcome all. It's good to have you here.
Hello everyone.
Yeah. Well, sorry we are a bit late here. We have some technical difficulties, but now we're here. And as we put in our description, we are going to talk about crystals and frequencies. And luckily for us, we have our crystal guru Cody here, and yeah, he is going to be the way shower today. So shall we start? Because this is about crystals and frequencies, and you are the master of crystals. So we are going to talk about how to use them, the healing modalities with crystals, and the different frequencies. And Johnny has this pendulum to show later on too. And I have put up my little secret box here with some tucked away crystals that we are going to show Cody later on too.
Nice.
So do you want to start, Cody, if we are talking about crystals generally?
Yeah.
Crystals. Take it away.
Yes. So I'll start with like the basics, fundamentals, if you will, of I don't know like what the technical actual definition of a crystal is, but for me, a crystal is something that has a pattern of atomic latex. So the atoms that actually make up the material have to be in certain patterns, and they repeat, over and over in a certain structure. So the structure just repeats over and over, and that technically is a crystal. So most people will, only see crystals as like the rocks or something that's from Earth, but even like a metal or something like that can be technically a crystal because it's has an atomic structure that will repeat over and over again. And so, but even getting past the more scientific part of it, because of that constant structure and the solidness of that atomic latex, it has a very stable frequency. It keeps its frequency very, very stable. And so we technically use the crystals to resonate with the stable frequency that it puts out, therefore allowing us to either become that frequency, have it come into us, use that frequency to expand out. So there's multiple ways of using that stability that the crystal brings into our life. And let's see, there's, again, many modalities of how to use them. The ones that I actually started in the very beginning with using would be crystal grids, having, certain crystals set up in patterns, and those patterns would have different effects. And you usually put your intention into setting up the lines and all that type of stuff, and even have the intention of what that grid is supposed to represent for you and what you want to have accomplished from that grid, either protection or energy increasing or clearing of spaces or something like that. So it's a very wide range of things that a crystal grid could do.
So if we are talking about crystals and frequencies, is that like you're having this, you have a frequency, and that frequency is getting materialized into a crystal? Is that a
That could definitely be a very accurate thing, because it's like the frequency that would be around that area can force those atoms to come together and build that atomic latex. One layer on top of the other, and so it's the frequency that creates, you can say, the atom, or not the atom, but creates the entire crystal, having it very stable, and also having the different, what is it, heat and pressure and all that type of stuff. The environment around it also helps with the creating and the stability within those atom latex, atomic latex. And so it's a multi-tiered thing, or thing. And so if there's a little bit of an environmental change, the crystal itself can change just slightly. And so, yeah.
Because that will automatically slide over to these floating crystals that we had a private talk about. And that is the I was trying to I did put up the YouTube link here, Masaru Emoto, and he was talking about water experiments, and that is the crystallines within the water. So you do know a bit about that. I haven't been able to share the YouTube video here, so I can't get it to work. But Masaru Emoto, I can put a link in the comment field later. But he did experiments with music to see how the water changed the structure, and he took video shots of it in a microscope, and it's amazing how the same water is actually changing structure.
Yes, and there's an expansion on his work that dealt with the freezing of water, and they were able to produce certain frequencies, or I should say they embedded, or had certain frequencies happening within this chamber, and they had water, and they chilled it to a certain level of to where it started to freeze, and depending on the frequencies that they put into this chamber, it froze in different structural patterns. And so you can literally have designer crystal, or designer ice flake, if you will, and so
because they do remind of ice flakes.
Yes, yeah, definitely. The crystals and ice flakes are very, one-to-one, if you will, very similar, especially how they expand and create one atom after the other. They layer up. And so it's a very interesting video to watch, where you can, while the crystal is freezing, or rather while the water is freezing, you can change the frequency in the chamber just slightly, and it'll start changing into a completely different pattern, and then change it back, and then change it to a different one. And so you can see the growth of that ice crystal happening in real time while they change the frequency in that chamber. It's very interesting to look at.
Well, it's definitely interesting, and that also reminds me of a other video that I watched a couple of years ago, when they had this ball and they put sand in it, and they were playing with a drumstick, making sounds on this ball, and it started to create a lot of different patterns within the ball. The same keynote get the same pattern in the sand each time. So it's definitely a frequency that are vibrating on the same, octave or.
Yeah, there's lots of scientific work and lots of studies done on these frequency plates. So they have just a metal plate, and you put sand or salt or something like that on top of it, and you produce the frequency. It kind of vibrates that plate within that octave, and the structure pattern will start creating or forming from the salt or whatever you have on top of it. And just recently there was an Amazon show, The Rings of Power, that came out. It's a Lord of the Rings kind of offsuit series. And their beginning title sequence is literally that, to where it shows these grains of salt forming different patterns based on the frequency. And so they literally, that's their like opening title sequence of these, lines that are being created from the sand because it's vibrating. And so they're kind of showing off that whole, vibration have different patterns. They create patterns,
Oh, that's interesting. I do have missed that.
I love that show, Cody. And
Yes.
I have a confirmation here of a quote. You've heard of Nikola Tesla, of course.
Mhm.
Everyone has. If they haven't, I don't know where they've been. But I just found this quote in a book I was drawn to. Chapter 1 is called The Power of Crystals, Healing Mind, Body, and Spirit. And quote by Nikola Tesla says, in a crystal, we have clear evidence of the existence of a formative life principle. And though we cannot understand the life of a crystal, it is nonetheless a living being.
Yes, very much.
So I just had to interject that quote from Nikola Tesla because he knew, and that was,
Mhm.
Well, I do love that because it connects to so many things that we have talked about earlier. And it also connects back to how the plants communicate with each other through vibrations. And if we have this water structure with frequencies and crystalline snowflakes within the water, so to speak, of course, there will be a frequency there that connects us. And there are scientific research that are saying that plants have a consciousness. They might not express themselves as we do, and they might not think in our thoughts, making visions of on work related issues, but they have visions on how to expand and grow, and they have a communication system where they are actually putting out both vibrations, but also by the roots deep down under, and they are connected with each other. So when a plant is getting attacked by some bug that is not good for it, it sends out a smell that makes other trees respond to put out other smells that attracts the predators to eat that bug. So obviously they do have this consciousness of interacting with each other. It's so amazing to see that structure when you are visualizing on it, because it makes you wonder how everything is connected to each other throughout the whole universe by frequencies and all the senses that we have, visual or audio and smells and everything. So that is a interesting sidetrack.
well, Einstein said that everything is frequency and vibration. So therefore, and I really love Einstein because he knew the secret to life. So
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just going to ask you if I can start this video with Masaru Emoto and see if I can share it somehow. If it doesn't work, we will go back.
He placed distilled water
Let's
between
see
two
here.
speakers for several hours while playing different music and then photographing the crystals that formed.
Can you see it?
After the water.
Mhm.
Good.
This photo is of water being exposed to Beethoven's Pastorale. This photo is the effect of Bach's air for the G string on the water.
I love this hectagon.
This photo is of water exposed to Chopin's farewell song. This next photo is water being exposed and infected to music that was designed for healing. This photo is of water being exposed to the Kawachi folk dance. This photo shows the effect of heavy metal music on the water. Here now we can compare the effects of healing versus heavy metal music and what happens to the water molecules. Mr. Emoto decided to see how thoughts and words affected the formation of untreated distilled water crystals by typing words onto paper and then taping this paper onto glass bottles overnight. This photo shows the effects of the words, "thank you." This next photo shows the effects of the words, "love" and "appreciation." This photo shows the effects of the words, "you make me sick, I will kill you."
That one actually makes me very, very sad to see, but it's also a beautiful confirmation about the science that they have done also by plants on how when you're communicating with the plants and they respond, and by giving loving thoughts and expressing gratitude, they are actually empowering the plants to expand and to be healthy. And when it gets in an environment of hate and bully, it will crumble down and the leaves will start to fall off, and it's feeling terrible. And the interesting part in this is that even though this is a link on YouTube, it's not a commercial thing, it's science. So this is a researcher who has done a lot of work, to see and how, if there is a connection between thoughts and action and words and vibration, and how that affects the molecule. So this is why we are here today, because this is how our talk started about changing the structure within the water structure with our thoughts and etc. And it is including so much about our etheric bodies and how we talk to each other. So I'm going to stop share there. So if you want to continue from this one that we have seen, Cody, what would you say?
Yeah, well, it's even expanded, you talked about the plants and all that type of stuff, but like very integratedly, our body is like more than 70% water itself. So the way that you talk to yourself, even, it will affect the body structure. And so if you are down on yourself, if you keep, belittling yourself, saying you're not important, you're not any of that type of stuff, you're not worthy of being alive, any of that, it will literally cause disease in your body because it's causing those unorganized water structure within the body. So giving yourself love, saying, I love you, body. I'm grateful for this body, will give it the structure that allows it to heal and allows it to prosper and grow.
Such an important words to be heard, because I do know that a lot of people do know these things, talk friendly and be nice. We are taught that since childhood, but we are not so nice to each other and we are not so nice to ourselves. And by seeing those pictures, you actually start to question, why do I even think negative sometimes? Why do I allow myself to pull down in that energy? It's pretty scary, because that is a powerful picture of the crystalline water, with the love and gratitude, and the other one who has been put through a lot of bad emotions. It makes me sick. I want to puke when I see that. It's yeah. So
and
go ahead.
Yeah, and the environment that is around, like a child growing up with parents that just constantly say, you're worthless, or I shouldn't have had you, all those, that environment that a kid will grow up in will basically cause that kid to either have that entrainment to constantly be in that negative state and constantly be in a state of optimization for that body. It will constantly be in disease. It will be suffering and all that type of stuff. When in the opposite, if you're in an environment where your parents are fully loving of you, or it doesn't even have to be the parents, just in some form of community around you that they love you, they support you, all that type of stuff, be such a boost into allowing you to be your true self, to have a life that you actually want to be living.
Mm. So true. What's your thought, Johnny?
I've been a witness to in the past few years when I lived in Boise of two different styles of parenting. One was our neighbor and one was a relative, and the neighbor's two boys, she had ended up having two, but they are the most amazing, bright, wonderful kids that you could ever think. I got to witness all this, and then on the other hand, I saw one change this adorable, wonderful child into overweight, insecure, just the opposite. So I witnessed that with my own eyes. So I know that it's very important to watch your words and to be careful what comes out of your mouth, even your thoughts, like Eva says. Your thoughts are things, I know that.
Yeah.
And words are even more powerful.
Yeah, and when you're thinking, it's already there. It's already happening. So you are just tapping into that frequency. So you're pulling two words together. So oh yeah, it's kind of make me sad. I'm still in a bit of emotion of sadness. I think gratitude. And gratitude is a beautiful way to change subject. Before this show, I pulled a card from the Archangel Power Tarot cards, and it was Archangel Michael, the card 21. And the keynote through there was, do express gratitude to your helpers, to your co-workers, to your family, friends, and angels, and don't be afraid to ask for help, but always be in gratitude for the help that you're receiving. And that is kind of the bridge between this giving and taking, asking for help and giving gratitude back, to keep this vibration of the energy. So that was just a sidetrack again.
No, I was hoping you'd mention the cards, and it goes along with a question. A young man who I just met a few weeks ago. He is from Germany, I want to say, but maybe, anyway, he's a student and he's studying social anthropology, and he's just really wanting to learn about things. So he became my Facebook friend, and he typed a question to me yesterday, and I was leaving the house, so I answered him today. And the question is, how do I get in touch, keep in touch with my spiritual self during the day? How do I keep in touch? And so I sent him a short little thing to start out on, because I just, and one of the things it said to do was prayer and or meditation as a daily way to start out your day for 5 minutes. And so I do know that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. So I believe I use both of those. So a person that, I guess my point is, when you get those bad thoughts that come through your mind, and instead of dwelling on them and making them more concrete, would be like a crystal adding onto itself and getting more crystallized and firm. You don't want that. So recognize the thought, feel what it's, the message it's bringing to you, and then let it go. So that it doesn't form something that's going to be hard to get rid of.
That's beautiful. And it's very important words, because that is healing yourself. And by healing yourself, you can also use crystals to help you out. And
Yeah,
I
they
know
help
that our
balance.
guru has something to say about that.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, crystals are very good for well, the specific type of crystals. Like if you have those negative, thoughts, a good obsidian or black tourmaline, something that's very dark is very good at absorbing that energy that is either stuck or kind of, it's repeated negativity and all that type of stuff within your energy body. It will absorb that and release that, little stuff. And it will allow you to put something new into that spot, allow it to flow freely, and put gratitude into the fact that you're getting rid of that negativity with that crystal. But it allows balance to occur, allows for healing, all that type of stuff. So the darker stone's really good for releasing that negativity within your body. And then if you're wanting to combine, or not combine, but after you get rid of that negativity with the darker stone, you bring in the lighter stone, the quartz, or even the my favorite rose quartz, the pink type of very light, very heart focused type of energy frequency. And so you get rid of that negative, and then you increase your positive, so that it's has that almost built-in subconscious ritual that will happen, where once you get rid of that negative, positive will come back to you. So even if you're not using crystals anymore, you'll have that kind of built-in almost muscle memory, I would say, of you getting rid of negative will automatically have positive come back into you. It's very good technique to use. Okay.
So is there any importance to treat the crystals well too? Because since they are absorbing, you need to cleanse them, and you have to nourish them, or what?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're like kids, but because kids tend to have a lot more work put into them to take care of them. But they are, as Johnny said, they're living beings. They might not have be breathing, they might not have our brain or our consciousness type of perception or everything like that, but they do have consciousness to them. And so if you have that obsidian or that black tourmaline that has absorbed that negativity, basically you'd want to either run it through cold water, if you are able to put it into, it's more of this one's somewhat controversial or kind of mixed, but having the rice, the brown rice, putting into the brown rice, that usually just kind of balances out that energy. It doesn't really fully get rid of it. A sage is always a good running sage over the crystal. That will definitely disperse that energy that is within that crystal. But most crystals do really well with running cold water over them. And that just kind of cleanses that out, kind of refreshes the crystal, if you will. And then to add more energy into it, sunbathing or putting your crystals within the sun will allow it to absorb that energy and become stronger, if you will, that frequency. The frequency will still be stable. It will still be a stable frequency, but it'll increase the amount of energy that it does have within that. I've been a little too forgetful or lazy with my crystals. I have a lot of crystals, therefore it's almost overwhelming for me to keep all of them cleansed and charged and all that type of stuff. So I do admit that I'm not the best parent to my crystals. Yeah.
what about the moon too, Cody? Doesn't the
Oh
moon?
yeah, charging the moon. Yes, definitely. Yeah, some crystals actually prefer moon energy rather than sun energy, especially the ones that are really vibrant and bright. Putting them into the sun for too long will actually decrease the brightness within that crystal. You'll fade them. So
Mhm.
putting them within the moon energy will keep that brightness, but still have that charge. Especially since the moon is almost reflecting the energy that is coming from the sun, and then having its own energy mix into that and then coming down. And so it almost is a two-step of energy that comes through. And it's a very calming energy with when you charge a crystal in the moon energy, especially full moon energy. Yeah, if you put a crystal with the full moon energy, it'll explode with energy.
Whoa.
Not explode.
Then I got a question about the moon energy.
Yeah.
Because if we are tapping into a bit of magic too, we have the ascended moon, and we have the fading moon, and it has holding two different sorts of energy. So can you recharge the crystals, like when the moon is going from full moon into a half moon, and you wanted to, the question that I wanted
Yes.
to
Yeah,
ask.
basically, if you want a different type of frequency to put in, or not, no, it is frequency, but a different type of energy to be sustained within that crystal. If you don't want it to be overly energetic with that full moon energy, having it at a half moon or even a waxing, almost full crescent moon will allow it to still absorb some of that energy that's coming from the moon, but it'll be much more not just calmer, but it wouldn't be overwhelming the crystal, if you will. If you have a crystal that is very sensitive, if you just tap into the feeling of the crystal, and it's like full moon energy is a little too much for me, I can't handle it. Doing it at a half moon or even a full crescent will probably be its sweet spot.
That was a
That's
great
interesting.
question, Eva.
Yes, yeah.
I have a testimony about the sun, and this is getting into the magical side. I'm sure everyone has heard of psychics, and of course there's a lot of fake ones, but there are some good ones. And a Facebook friend turned me on to a wonderful psychic from the UK. Now I follow her YouTubes and messages. I don't ever go and consult a psychic, and I've never had to, but although I do know that there are psychic investigators that help police solve crimes, so I know, and the cops are always like amazed at how they knew that. And so anyway, getting off the subject, her name is Louise Jones, and she does crystal ball scrying, and she always says that I just charge my crystal out in the sun, and then she's amazing. And she's also, if you want to get into it, she's part gypsy, but she's also very religious, and she always calls in her archangels before anything. So she's just an amazing person that uses the crystal. And I had to mention her because she's the only one I've ever seen that uses the crystal ball like that. And she will be right on camera holding it up, looking, and her predictions are always like right on.
What's her name?
Her site name's Louise Jones, and she goes by Psychic LJ, Louise Jones. And I can send a link and too, but she's on Facebook. She's also on YouTube. And YouTube, how they are censoring a lot of people and taking all the ones that are telling the truth down. She tells stuff about world politics. She's consulted all over the world by many famous military, I mean, you name it, because she's so amazing. But she's now on Twitch and some other things, but she still has, I halfway listened to one last night and I fell asleep. That's on YouTube. So she is on YouTube still.
That's interesting. We
Yeah.
do love to get new acquaintance. So, but if she's
Yeah.
that big, I was about to say that maybe we could ask her to join us. But
Oh yeah, she's, well, she is
Well,
really, really busy, but she might join us sometime. And she's just so down to earth. And I couldn't go let this crystal episode go by without talking about her.
Oh yes, yeah. The crystal scrying is definitely one. I haven't really been able to do much crystal scrying. It kind of takes a specific type of person, so to speak, or a real practice to it. It's somewhat hard for me to do. And I basically I have probably one of the, not the biggest, but I have a crystal ball that's clear crystal ball that is literally perfect. It's almost meant for crystal scrying, but I never use it for crystal scrying. I use it for astral travel. you know.
do you show us? Do you have it there?
Yes. Yeah.
And could you also explain after that, because now you have to show the crystal and talk about your astral projections, and then you have to talk about the scrying, the crystal scrying.
All right. So this is the crystal ball, nice, clear. So this one is quite powerful, and it likes to almost just immediately draw you out of your body. And scrying is almost like astral projection, especially in certain ways, where I'll start with this scrying kind of like process, if you will. One of them is bringing in your protection, your guardians, all that type of stuff, making sure you have a clear space to do it. And then you basically focus into the crystal, and you're not like fully gazing straight into the crystal. You're almost trying to look past the crystal and almost have it like, kind of fuzzy type of thing. And soon you'll either get, clouds or, something will kind of like start forming. And at that point, you're almost like astral projecting into the crystal itself and wherever that portal is going, because the crystal is basically acting as a portal at that point. And so you'll either be, put into an area where there's, someone that's going to meet you and tell you some stuff. I know one psychic that I used to watch a lot that did a ton of crystal scrying was Psychic Bob. He's kind of a big one, and he would always be, doing the scrying, and then he'll automatically be like, put into a place, and he'll either be talking to, Kuan Yin, or he even talked with like Zeus, Zeus came through, and lots of different beings, and lots of fairies, stuff. He's very good with the fairies, the fae, but you're always put someplace, and it's always has a purpose for why you're scrying. They'll be like, oh, you're here, yay, let's talk. They're always very excited for you. But yeah, it's basically like you're astral projecting into that place, and they'll show you something, give you a gift. One time he was scrying, and he came into a forest and saw that Merlin was there. Merlin guided him up through, and Merlin gave him a really big Lemurian crystal to hold, and it was of course not real. He didn't bring a crystal out of his crystal, but it's kind of an energetic imprint into his soul. But there's many applications for it. So even if you want to just use it purely for astral projection and you don't want to get any like actual visitation from anybody, you can basically just use it as a portal to instantly get you to some place. You want to astral project over Egypt and look at the pyramids real quick, do the scrying, or and it send you through type of thing. Any other place, multi-dimensional, whatever.
So scrying is almost similar to remote viewing,
Yes, yeah, very much.
or is it the same?
No, it would be similar because scrying will have a different kind of purpose behind it, if you will. Remote viewing and astral projection, they tend to be more, observatory. You're just observing. You're kind of not really participating much with any of the things that you're actually observing or being around. The scrying is like you actually going there and having a full conversation with some being or someone, and you actually, interacting with that environment that you are put into. And so it's much more active, if you will, much more, reactive, active,
So it's more like the intention of why I'm doing it, and the
Yes.
results of that intention.
Yes.
So you were mentioning dowsing, Johnny.
Oh yeah, but before we do, Cody, everybody, you mentioned Lemurian crystal, and I keep seeing that over and over lately, and I'm wondering if there's a significance to the Lemurian crystal.
Oh yes, yeah. I used to have a couple, bigger ones, but I was, getting too many crystals, so I let my mom have those. Not necessarily have them. I just let my mom borrow them for a bit. Yeah, Lemurian crystals are technically like time capsules, if you will. They're like seeds of information usually, and so what makes it like a special Lemurian crystal is they usually are always quartz, and it's basically the Lemurians take their energy, their information, knowledge, all that type of stuff, and embed it within that crystal, and then are either buried or it's just kind of it's already in the ground while they put their energy into it. And once it's dug up by someone, in present day, and it gets to somebody, that information, if it resonates with that person, will be released to that person. And so even if you have a Lemurian crystal, you might not be able to get the information out of it because it's not resonated with you. You're not the person that it's meant for, if you will. But they do have their resonant energy that you can use and help with, like the ones that I had were very good with connecting the heart, the mind, and allowing for like empathical emotion connection. So yeah, they help with kind of, coming into yourself, you having that balance of heart, mind, and then being able to sense the emotions and energies of others around you.
Wow, I have it reminded me when you're talking about that, about crystals and your vibration resonating. I remember like, this was at least 20 years ago, maybe, yeah, or more. And I went hiking behind Redfish Lake, which is in Idaho. And Redfish Lake is a beautiful lake, and I'd never been on the other side. You have to take a boat to the other side and then hike up. And the purpose was to find crystals. And as we were hiking up the mountain, the person ahead of me stepped over, and I looked down and picked up this rock and turned it over, and there were crystals all under it. And they were like, all like, how did you see that? I didn't see it. I felt it. Yeah. And so then later on the way back down, I had to go off trail. This was almost back to the lake to use the restroom behind a big boulder. And they were all waiting, and nobody found any crystals. And so I'm walking back, and something glinted in the ground, and I picked it up, and it was a great big, not this big of a crystal. It was this size, but thinner. And everybody thought that I had brought that with me and planted it, because they couldn't believe that they're I'm drawn to them. I don't know, they must have been calling me. So it just reminded me of that, Cody. Do they call to you when you like pick yours out, or?
Oh yes, definitely. One that I have, the what's it? Jeez, I already forgot it was plum blossom jade. My plum blossom jade crystal. It's more of a black kind of thing. It has lots of colors within it, so it almost looks like a galaxy. But it was one that was on Etsy, so it was on a site. I usually get my bigger crystals from websites like Etsy, are people that are on Etsy, I should say. And this one was talking to me for months and months, and I just couldn't afford it because it was like $400 or something. I couldn't do it at that time. Sorry. So yeah, I kind of just like was waiting and waiting, hoping that at some point he might, either reduce the price of it, or there'll be like some huge sale or something that he was going to do. But this crystal, every time that I went onto this site, and I would go onto that site a lot because I just always loved looking at the crystals and seeing if there's any good, deals on stuff. And this one would always catch my eye, and it was huge, 11-pound sphere. And one day I went onto the site, and it was like almost half off or something like that. I was like, oh my god, and immediately had to go and buy it instantly. And it was waiting for me. I knew that crystal was waiting for me. Nobody else would buy it, and it's been on the site, or it was on the site for over a year or more. It was just waiting and waiting for the right person to buy it, and it was like, yeah, that's me. I'm getting it one. Yeah. Yeah, there's even been crystals that I really wanted to buy, like the Lemurian crystal. There's one that I really wanted to get, and it was quite a big Lemurian crystal. And I usually will tap into the energy of the crystal before I buy it to make sure that it resonates with me and that it's a good fit. And this one was like, nope, you are not the intended person for me. And I was like, okay, I won't buy you. And then it kind of like nudged over, just go one more page over. And I was like, okay, go. And then I see the Lemurian crystals that I did eventually get, which were the little bit smaller, kind of more tower based, 2 of them. And the first one I actually looked at, it was big and it resonated. It was like, yes, I'm good. But it said, you can't buy me unless you buy the one that is next to me, that next one, because we go as a pair. And so these 2 crystals said, I can't be bought separately. These 2 have to go in a pair, but they're listed separately. And I don't think the person that was even selling them knew that they had to go as a pair. They worked together. So I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool to have that full communication with the crystal as well, to make sure that it's resonate with you and all that. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That is, and it's so fascinating that we are talking about Lemurian and the crystals, because both Atlantis and Lemurian had a lot of crystals that were used to program and to withhold and this energy and frequency. And we do know that Atlantis had a problem with their crystals, and that finally led to the not so happy ending for Atlantis. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So there is a frequency there that we are tapping into, and it's not meant for everybody because it could have destructive consequences, or it might not be anything happening at all. It could be just like, well, it sits there and it's a beautiful piece of art, but not more. And then you can work magic with your crystals, right?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I keep thinking about Star Trek and the engineer saying the dilithium crystals are the that they power up the ship, right, Cody?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Crystal technology, we haven't fully gotten to it yet on in our cultures, but that's huge within most multidimensional cultures or beings, and very advanced cultures. They use crystals in almost everything. Use it to power their ships, use it to interact with the other beings, use it as a form of communication, data storage. Like you said, it stores energy, but it also stores a lot of data. So you can literally have an information cube of a crystal, and you place it into one of their slots or whatever, and the information will, pop up from it. Or you can have it store information. And because crystals are so, hard for one thing, and they have such a stable atomic latex, that information isn't going to degrade at all. Where if you put it on a CD, put it on a thumbstick, memory stick, or whatever, those things will fade out. They will decay, and you'll lose your information that's on there. But the crystals will stay for long periods of time and keep that information within. So,
It reminds me of Superman in his crystal cave, and he
yes.
puts in those crystals, and he gets
Mhm.
communications from his father.
Yeah, exactly.
I love, that's like my favorite scene in any Superman movie is the crystal cave.
Yes.
And I was
yeah.
kind of thinking of Austara and her crystal skulls.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah?
the crystal skulls those are huge. Yeah, they're like a collection of human consciousness at that time. It's a really interesting ritual that they did with the crystal skulls. One of my crystals that I actually own, and I got off of Etsy, it was actually a person called Kami Crystal, and he's a reincarnation of an Atlantis king, and he was directly involved with the creation of crystal skulls and many other crystals that they used in Atlantis. He was a crystal master, if you will. He shaped crystals, he programmed the crystals, all that type of stuff. So my Merlin pendant that has the Merlin energy channeled into it was made by him.
Wow.
It's very powerful. But the ritual that they would do with the crystal skulls is, they would have a person that's a very good conduit of basically the collective consciousness at that time. And that person would basically transfer his not his full consciousness. It's not like the person died, but he would just like copy it into that crystal skull through this kind of ritual type of thing. And so it would be a recording of consciousness at that time, and with all the information and everything.
Because that is a question that many people are asking about. How did they use the crystals in Lemuria and Atlantis? And that is the similar things. It's restored, the memory and thoughts and information are restored into those crystals like a computer.
Yes, very much. Yeah, it's literally like their computers. Yeah, but more advanced out, should I say, than a computer. Yeah.
No,
And they're crystals in our iPhones and phones, right?
Oh yes,
Aren't
yeah,
they?
and watches, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Watches use the small little bits of quartz to have the electrical charge go through it easier, and for starting and all that type of stuff. We got lithium batteries, which are basically like a crystal compound. It's but yeah, it's interesting.
I
One
also
more
was
question.
thinking,
Oh, sorry.
no. I also was thinking about those skulls that the monks are using. They have in their grave tombs. They are piling up the skulls and the bones
yeah.
from their
Yeah, I've seen that.
or
there's
colleagues.
Yeah, there's full temples that are made out of pure bones, but the monks are, it's kind of a different thing, to where they're not putting a lot of energy into it. It's more of like the symbol of like, yeah, we all die, get over it. Not really like just go over, but they use it almost as a joke, to where they it's not like a morbid thing. Oh, they have a skull. A lot of monks will have a full human skull in their bedroom, like on a desk or on the wall or something like that. And it's not like they're, they're into, bad magic stuff, anything like that. It's just like a reminder of life and death, the cycles. Yeah.
Impermanence. It's called
Yes.
impermanence.
Yeah. Impermanence. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a reminder of impermanence. Yeah.
But I also have this vision of that it actually communicates with a memory, not the
Oh yes.
particular dead monk that were the habitant of the skull, but the energy that the skull is providing with information that are almost like a lineage tree.
Yes, yeah, ancestral tree type of thing. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. We can definitely do that. It'll basically, the skull will act as like the medium between that other consciousness that is trying to connect with and the consciousness that is, you know,
Mm.
connecting. So it's the bridge, if you
So
will.
that is
between
also
the two.
keeping a frequency that
Mm.
people can tap into. So is
Mhm.
that why they created the crystal skulls? Because it's kind of, you know, we do accept to use human skulls as a transmitter for information to the other side. So maybe that was why they shaped them as skulls. Because why do we shape crystals as skulls? Because the information will be kept in there anyway,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah,
question.
yeah. I don't know the full answer of why they did the specific of the skulls, but I think it was because that how our consciousness is, we kind of think of the consciousness within the head, if you will. At least in the time periods that they, you know, were making it, they knew it was, you know, consciousness is everywhere. It's all is one, one is all type of thing. But just to make it an easy transfer from consciousness to the skull, it's easier to have the same medium, you know, same shape, if you will, to go from here to there. You know, it's kind of makes it an easy transition, and it's, you know, it also kind of reminds you that it's like the brain. You know, it's like you have a head, there's a brain in there. The brain contains, you know, it doesn't actually contain information. It's the brain doesn't actually contain any information. It's basically just a relay. It's it it receives, it's a receiver, if you will. It receives energy and then sends out energy. It doesn't actually contain anything. You know, so that's a immense information about the brain. It doesn't contain anything.
Is it transmitter?
Yeah, it's a receiver and transmitter. It's the medium between the energies that you are either expressing or receiving. And so
Electrical impulses.
yes, electrical impulses. That's all it is, just electrical impulses. And so it's not like you have your memory stored within your brain. It's that your memory is stored within your auric field, your aura with it, basically. And so you tap into that through the brain and it goes in. But yeah, there's much more.
Another interesting aspect of the crystal skulls could be that they are a information data bank from our crystalline forefathers.
Yeah, gotcha.
Oh, you haven't
Yeah.
thought of that.
Yeah, the crystalline. Well, I know that they're like a collective. They, like, you know, all work within one, even though it's like there's 13 of them. They all are technically like one consciousness, not one consciousness, but they all will work together. But yeah, I do know that we were more crystalline, so to speak, before, but I didn't. It's funny. It's kind of reminding me of that movie, you know, the Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skulls, where that
Oh, yeah.
alien, that one's kind of like the perfect, you know, representation of it, to where the alien's skull is literally the skull of the alien. That, you know, they go into that temple or down, you know, and they're in that ship, you know, within the ship, and the skull basically, you know, magnetizes to its, you know, to its thing, and goes and he sits up, but the entire body of that alien being is crystal in the head, and there's, you know, like 13 of them sitting around, and so they're literally like a perfect representation of the crystalline structure or of that being. But yeah, that kind of made me think a lot
Well,
about different stuff.
Aren't we becoming crystalline beings right now?
Oh yes, yes. But,
We're becoming crystalline beings. That's my understanding of the sun codes that are coming in. We're becoming crystalline.
yeah, but I think the difference between that is that's more like energetic crystalline. Like our structures are getting more, and it's more about DNA as well. This one, I think it's like the actual bone structure itself is full crystal. You know,
Right,
that's,
right.
that's like where my mind is going, is like, imagine having a full, skeletal structure that is just pure crystal. Like, imagine how much energy you'd be able to transmit and receive through that body. Like that's,
I
wonder if
think
a
we're
lot of,
gonna be
yeah.
able, to do that, you guys. I really do. I had one more question, Cody, about Lemurian crystals. Do they transmit different things than normal quartz crystals? I mean,
Yes.
what's the difference?
A normal quartz crystal is kind of like neutral, if you will. It's a good amplifier of all other crystals around it, but it doesn't have a specific, like, well, some quartz crystals will have energy embedded into it, and therefore it has a unique frequency to it. But it's not like it's, I don't want to use this word special, and it's all crystals are special, but it's very neutral in its energy. Whereas a Lemurian crystal will have a very specific frequency that is attached to that crystal, a specific energy, specific memory to it. And so, like, my crystal, Lemurian crystals, had more of that empathic and the connection of, like, your true self, your heart, mind connection. And so it's very specific energy that is embedded into that quartz, because they are quartz, but they're just, have very specific frequencies within it. The quartz that we normally have around us, it's very neutral, and you kind of can play with it. You can infuse certain energies into it, or just keep it as a good amplifier of whatever you want. So yeah, they are different, but you technically could create a Lemurian, quote unquote, Lemurian crystal, even though it wouldn't be Lemurian. It would be you'd be and putting that energy, that specific database, specific energies within that crystal that can hold onto it and then keep it further.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that leads us up to next topic, Johnny. With your pendulum.
Yes. Okay, Cody's favorite stone,
Rose quartz.
rose quartz. I'm glad to hear you say that. Rose has the love vibration, right? The love frequency.
Yes. Yep. Love frequency.
Well, I've got a story to tell after I just give a brief explanation of pendulum dowsing. It's a simple way to connect with your higher self and your spirit guides to get accurate answers about various topics in your life. And it's a form of dowsing that works much like an antenna. So the pendulum absorbs energy from all around you, including your subconscious. And science says this is actually the pendulum picking up electromagnetic energy. So most people have heard that, if the pendulum, you have to match it up to what your answer is, but either sideways is yes or no, or back and forward is yes or no. Then there's the circular one and the reverse circular. And getting past all that, I have a story to tell about a Native American Navajo pipe holder, and he was a medicine man. And I was really blessed to get to know him for a brief moment of time. He was staying with some friends, and my grandson was about 8 years old at that time, and he took his pendulum and laid me out on the floor, and he went down my body and told my grandson, whose name is Cody, by the way, and he's told Cody that depending on what the pendulum did as he went down my body, he would tell what was going on in my body. And he said the only problem I'd have in my life is with my knees. I guess my knees were a big thing. And it's turned out to be true. I mean, I have bony knees, and I have hurt my knees more than once in my life. So he was right on about that. So it was pretty amazing. He was teaching my grandson about the pendulum, and that was before I even knew about pendulums. So I don't know if you've had experiences, either of you, with pendulums.
Yeah, the pendulum is like how you're saying, you guys, like crystals, you program it to what is appropriate to you. So if you want a yes, you can go this way, and then a no would be this way, or you can reverse it. That's a yes and that's a no. Or you can even do, if it goes clockwise, then it's a yes, counterclockwise is a no. And that's just a simple yes or no answer, our type of thing. But it can be much more intricate, to where depending on the diagonal that it swings in, can be, the number of 1 through 10 or whatever, just, okay, it's going out of 5. So the answer is like a 5, and then it'll change 5, 3, 2. Okay. And so it can be very complicated, or it can be very simple depending on your programming of what you want with it. And yeah, they're pretty accurate, to where when I was using my pendulum a lot, it would almost be too much energy, to where it would really start swinging like crazy. And so I was like, okay, that's a lot of energy going into it. And eventually I got to the point where I didn't have to use the pendulum anymore. I just sensed the changes within my fingertips. And so when you're using a pendulum, you'll get that sense of it's pressure this way, that type of thing. And so basically all I would do now is just, put my fingers together and feel where it is.
So I was going to say that it's a tool. For me, it's a tool.
Yes.
That is an extension of yourself. But as anything, you can also use it in many different types of way. And using it over chakras is one way, and I use the clockwise for yes and the counterclockwise for no. And I also do the clockwise to open up or increase. And this is not a pendulum, this is actually a something else. But it's an accurate tool that are giving you confirmation. And it's so easy. It's easier to accept and believe, and most of the time we just need that confirmation to open up to another reality of what we are doing. So
yeah, and it's all baby steps, like Cody said, first he had the pendulum, and then now he can just put his fingers together and feel it. Because one thing I know is they recommend you holding your crystal to get the feeling of what it is and what it's trying to convey to you. So holding it, the touch, like you said in one of the other things, that you would rub your hands together and then hold a picture. Well, the psychic investigator shows that I've been watching that are fascinating, they take a picture of someone and they can see what's happening relating to that person by their touch. So I know touch and crystals holding it, well, it's all energy and frequency and vibration, so it makes sense. It's a fascinating probably untouched, basically area of science that I hope would be
and the fun thing about using crystals or any other tools, I had to put out these ones, and I'm sure you have all seen these kind of things.
Oh yeah, dowsing rod, yes.
And those are so fun to start playing with, because then it comes back to your intention. So when you set intention for it to turn, left, it will turn left, and right, you will turn right. And then it always comes someone who says, well, you are guiding it to
Yes, right.
left and right. Yes, of course I am.
Yeah, consciously, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, probably by my hands too, from the beginning. But the thing is, the more you're using it, you actually get to that state where you're feeling it, but it doesn't have it in your hand. So
Yes.
you're increasing your ability to use your intuition to something. So this is marvelous because you can hold it like this and you know, they have their own life, and then you start thinking about expansion, and yeah, someone just right. So every time and that brings us back to what we started to talk about, how our thoughts are affecting the crystals within ourselves. Because
Yeah.
as soon as you change your mind or change the thoughts, you will get a visible results by using pendulums and these kinds of things. So that is pretty amazing. I love it. So I still use the pendulum. I think it's a good tool. I love my everything that swings, holding in the hand, you know.
Yes.
So, I love it. So do you see this one?
That's
Oh, yeah.
Let's see here.
Yes.
Oh,
wow.
well, can you guess what it is?
A crystal ball.
It looks like a fossil.
Yeah, fossil.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's an elephant fossil or mammoth fossil. So that's
Oh,
what
wow.
have.
Wow, that's probably pretty powerful, Eva.
Mhm.
It is.
Yeah.
I bought it because it was reminded me of a stone, and I started to wear it, and I didn't cleanse it before. And I started to get this kind of odd feelings, pretty earthy feelings.
Mhm. Mhm.
So and started to dream a lot of strange stuff, and I realized that I might just need to put this aside and check it out what the fossil had to say
Mhm.
about that. So yeah, well, we do sit about I sit up on a lot of crystals, and I almost forgot their names, but there are different shapes and there are different types of crystals, and I'm not using everyone because you said earlier that a lot of the dark stones could be used to transform and you know, to transform negative energies, but you also use it to what did you say, shrine to the future?
Yeah, you can do scrying, and especially if actually you can use the clear quartz or clear crystals for scrying, but also having a black sphere, black even mirror, just a black mirror. It's actually really good for scrying because it gives that depth basically to the thing that you're looking at. My plum blossom jade is technically it's full black. I could use it as a crystal scrying as well, but I use that one for astral projection mainly. So to technically both of my crystals that could be used for scrying, I use for astral projection. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm just showing, I'm listening.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, right.
Keep talking.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so were some interesting things places you've astral projected, Cody?
Oh yeah. Honestly, mostly crystal caves. Like we were talking
Wow.
about crystal caves. Yeah, like one of my favorite places to go is there's a planet that I go to, and within the crust or below the crust of the planet, there's these gigantic caves that just are completely filled with crystals. And yeah, I'll go into one of them, and at the very end of this cave, there's like a pond, like it's kind of like just a water structure there. And so what I'll do is I'll sit on top of the water and almost Jesus walk on it, but I'll meditate basically within that water, and the water kind of has absorbed all the energy of the crystals as well. And so I'm using like the water as a conduit to absorb all of that crystal energy within it. And I also play a lot with that one, to where even though I know I'm in astral projection and I'm not actually physically moving any of the stuff that's there, I'll like, pretend that the water is coming up as like a scepter into my hand, and so I can hold on to that water within my hand. Or funner ones is I'll do like I'll feel the Poseidon type of energy, so I'll make a trident within my hand, or type of thing.
Fun.
But yeah,
Awesome.
kind of fun. Yeah, so that's kind of my fun places to go is the crystal caves. Other places is more multi-dimensional, to where it's more energy based. It's not really solid. It's lots of pinks, lots of dark blues. Yeah, it's pretty interesting places to go. Yeah.
So those crystals that you have, do you use them in healing?
Yeah, I used to. Like, I originally actually bought all these crystals because I was going to be going into like a business. I was going to be starting a business of crystal healing as a business, and wasn't energetically or consciously ready to start a business. I think it would just be too much for me to handle, and so I just never got into it. But yeah, all the crystals that I bought were specifically for that business, and so I basically just use them as a personal healing now instead of actually healing most anybody else. I have done, like in the past, where I'll do the sending the energy of the crystal into you guys, and done that, and also helped with my roommate. She tends to have a lot of stresses in her head and all that type of stuff, so I'll let her hold on to my amethyst sphere to kind of calm the mind and get it into a more peaceful state of energy. But yeah, and it's
Because
yeah,
I love the
and
concept of using crystals on the body, and
yes,
if you are doing crystals on your healing on yourself or other people, to place crystals upon either chakras or any other places, that is a fine thing to use the pendulum, or to just feel where you're drawn to. And I do also know that we talked about how crystals and water, how they connect together, and we started to talk on an earlier episode about drinking water that had been amplified with energies from crystals. So
yeah,
shall we talk a bit about that?
yeah, it's a good one.
Do you have energies left for doing that?
Definitely, yeah. I always have energy left. But yeah, it's one that I actually haven't really personally done, just because a lot of my crystals are too big to actually put into water bottles. And so the crystals that are smaller that would be able to put into a water bottle or some type of a container are flaky ones, and therefore you don't want to actually put into water, because it'll start breaking down that crystal, and you might accidentally get a big shard of crystal in your throat, and that's bad. It's hazardous. So don't
That's
do that.
the disclaimer.
Yes.
Big disclaimer. Don't drink everything you see.
Yes, exactly.
This is the one I used in my water when I lived in Boise for 15 years. It's set in the bottom of my water jug, but I would take it out and cleanse it.
Good. Okay. Yeah.
But it's the type that wouldn't shed.
Yeah, because it's just not only that they can lose some pieces of the original crystal. It can also be minerals that are getting out in the water that are not healthy for you, right? So you need to know what kind of crystals to put in water if you are supposed to drink that. But crystals and rose quartz, amethyst, or
just not this type. This is a flaky type.
Yeah, no selenite. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of the, like tourmaline, black tourmaline, all that type of stuff tend to be a bit more flaky. So that's not one to put in. I got one that's called it's basically called kryptonite, but it's not like quite kryptonite, it's like kryptonite or whatever, but it's a blue one that's really flaky, has lots of energy to it, but I just would never put it. I don't even put it under cold water for the cleansing because it's so flaky that it'll just disintegrate. It'll start, breaking off pieces, and it's kind of too valuable to do that. So that's more of the sage or just my personal energy cleansing it. But yeah, and then one that I think this is kind of a off topic or anything like that, but this is a crystal that I know Eva liked, and that's my sapphire.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. I
Yes,
love it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's more of the raw type of sapphire, even though it's faced. It's not gem quality clear, all that type of stuff, but it is a rather large one. Like if this crystal was like the clear gem quality, this would probably be the biggest sapphire in the world because it's literally 1050 carats.
Wow.
Huge
It-
crystal. Yeah.
Just you holding it, I got this really powerful feeling from it, Cody.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Mm.
When you held it up, is that
Mhm.
hold a lot of power?
Oh yeah, this one's so strong. Yeah, it seems like this one and my emerald, even though the emerald was smaller, those two seem to have a lot of energy in them. But this one is really good. I like it for, actually, I technically put it under my, I have this tower thing, so I put my, clear crystal on top of it, and then I put the sapphire within
Ooh,
here. And so
ooh.
basically, the sapphire amplifies
Whoa.
through the clear quartz, and so I can just put my hand on top of the clear quartz and have intensified energy from this one.
Holy moly.
Yes.
You're like Merlin,
Yeah, you are.
magician. Yeah.
I
So
know we've been going a long time,
yeah.
but I just wanted to mention the last purchase I made was my Merkaba,
Yes. The Merkaba,
and
yeah.
it's a 7 chakra healing stone Merkaba. So it's obsidian, which is a stone that matches up with my astrological sign Sagittarius, and it talks about giving us insights into what would be necessary to make change. And I didn't know it when I bought that, and I had made that move from Boise to here last year, and this was helping me adapt to the change.
Nice.
The
Wow.
change.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
I thought it was pretty, I had to mention that really quick. And
Yeah. So before we are closing in, because I know we have been going on for 1.5 hours, but it's been very interesting. And so I hope that we can continue for a few more minutes before we're closing down, if it's okay with you, because I do want to end this with a healing transmission from Cody, our guru, and you will work your magic on us. But before we are going to do that, I will see if I can share one more thing when we are talking about crystals and what to drink. I actually found a page here, freeingbutterfly.com, and they are writing about the different stones to use that are waterproof. I don't know if everyone are in favor of drinking, so please do not drink it. Don't put any stone into a glass of water or whatever and drink it because you think you can. Use clear crystal, and rose quartz is those that I know is perfectly safe, and I do know about some others, but I do also know that some crystals could be really unhealthy for you. So please be aware, and double cross the fact before you start to eat and drink something. And there's some other stones here that are not water safe. So if you are watching the replay here, you can go in and check her page out, freeingthebutterfly.com, and see where she gets her information from. Is there anything you want to say about this one, this page?
Well, not the page, but it's also very nice to do experiments. Basically, when you have a crystal that you know is good for the water, to have experiments of putting it in one glass that has the crystal in it, one glass that doesn't have the crystal in it. See the difference of taste. To have the crystal in it for 1 hour and then have the crystal in it for a full day. And kind of just experiment with it and see if it really does have an effect, if it really does taste different, feel different, all that type of stuff. And so you get active with it and not just rely on our information or their information. Just really curious. Be curious and play with it.
Be curious, definitely. Be curious. And in these days, we are living in a society that are flowing with information, so you can actually do some research by yourself. So don't just tap in and listen to what we or anybody else said. Double check the facts before, okay?
Yeah.
Because we will only answer to what we are drinking, but we will not answer to what you are drinking.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the disclaimer.
Good.
So are we ready for Cody to work his magic?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought the perfect one to deal with would be that sapphire, but I'll be doing it a little bit differently, to where normally I would just be doing this crystal pure, but because I would also use it with my, for me to increase the energy, I'm going to be having this one on my side and basically be amplifying this crystal so that you get the energy that I'm used to when working with it, so to speak.
Interesting.
Yes, yeah, and just for anybody that doesn't really know about sapphire, it's good for well, one, I actually want you to feel the energy and see how it affects you, but I know that it just connects me with my true self, and kind of whenever I'm not feeling like myself, I tap into the sapphire energy. Yeah. Okay, so with this energy, just accept, or have the intention of accepting this energy, and it shall flow to you, and we'll see how long this one goes for. Yeah. Okay. energy is closing out now. So, of course, it will probably have more effects later on, but the short one, but that's good.
That was powerful. Johnny went far away.
I did. Oh my gosh, Cody.
What happened?
First I saw the sky, then I went into space, then I went to a nebula, and I don't even know what a nebula, I mean, I know what a nebula is, but I went to a nebula, and then I started gyrating around it like so weird, like a gyroscope. And then I had to calm myself down, and then I just was like Superman in his cape. I was standing in front of absorbing the energy of the nebula. And then I felt that was enough, and I came back to Earth, and Cody ended the meditation. Oh my goodness. What a trip.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
This is like the perfect way to end this session. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
it makes me chills all over. I got full body chills.
Mhm. I told you, this crystal just makes you come out of your body just instantly, you know. So this one combined with this one is.
I'm still chilling. I'm still chilling. Woo. What did happen to you, Eva?
Well, I didn't went on a trip like you. I just yeah, the amount of energy just pouring in. So, but I'm getting high on your vibrations right now because you are so full with beautiful energy. And so I think that is summing up everything that we have been talking
I
about.
know.
Go to a state of thinking and be grateful and feel gratitude to whatever it is for our cell structures. So yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Oh, that's beautiful.
that was fun.
That
That
was
was
fun.
Oh my gosh, I've never been on a trip like that. I've never been too many places, even in the world, and that was the best trip I've ever.
Yeah. Well, we're going to finish off with those words. Best trip we've ever had. This was the most fun thing we have done in a long time. It was so blissful. So thank you for watching us. And this is Cody and Johnny and Eva from Gathering on Light, and we will be back with another topic later on. So thank you for tuning in, and until next time, take care. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Cody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.